Chapter 2944. However, Zhang Shichong had provoked her time and time again, so how could she let him off so easily? Hence, she smiled lightly and nodded. Indeed, I've offended you. I've already said that such a small thing isn't worth mentioning in the same breath as me. However, seeing that young Master Jiang was in high spirits, I wanted to accompany you in the bet. Since both of you have said so, I naturally can't be used as a wager. She looked at them with a smile in her clear eyes and said, How about this? I'll use 3 level 6 vitality breaking pills to bet with you.
How about that?
As soon as she said this, a series of gasps could be heard, especially from one of the rooms where the sound of a teacup breaking could be heard. That was the room where the middle-aged man and the old man were. The two of them had originally seen the commotion below and thought that this bet would be lost. Who would have thought that they would hear 3 such pills? Level 6 vitality breaking pill? It was a level 6 vitality breaking pill? In their four-corner city, there had never been a level 5 vitality breaking pill, but this woman had mentioned a level 6 vitality breaking pill? Was what she said true or false? Did she really have such a pill in her hands? At that moment, the two of them were somewhat agitated, especially the old man. He was so agitated that the teacup in his hand shattered, and he didn't even realize that the tea had splashed onto his robes. He only stared blankly at the woman in red and asked the middle-aged man sitting beside him, Did I hear wrongly? Is it a level 6 vitality breaking pill? Yes, you didn't hear wrongly. She said a level 6 vitality breaking pill, but how precious is a level 6 pill? Moreover, it's a level 6 vitality breaking pill? The middle-aged man took a deep breath and calmed himself down before saying, Don't be too agitated. Perhaps it's just a false hope. How can I not be agitated? A level 6 vitality breaking pill. You know that if I have a level 6 vitality breaking pill, I can break through my current cultivation and enter the fairy realm, increasing my lifespan by another 200 years. At that time, I won't have to worry about my lifespan. The old man took a deep breath and felt his heart beating rapidly. Nervousness, apprehension, uneasiness, and agitation surfaced in his heart one by one, to the point that his forehead was covered in sweat and his palms were wet. Compared to the two of them, the others who heard this were extremely shocked as well. 3 level 6 breakthrough pills? One had to know that 6th level medicinal pills were extremely precious, especially the 6th level spirit breakthrough pill. Even 100,000 crystal stones and 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs couldn't buy one. But now, this woman actually said that she would bet 3 of them? For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on her. They were sizing her up, probing her, and shocked her. When the 3 people from the Jiang clan heard this, they were also stunned. Zhang Shichong looked at the red-clothed girl in astonishment and asked, You have a level 6 breakthrough pill? How is this possible? Young lady, are you talking about the 6th grade origin breaking pill? Is it really a level 6 breakthrough pill? The first elder of the Jiang clan and the third elder of the Jiang clan asked at the same time. Their voices carried a trace of urgency as they stared closely at Fengjiu. Level 6 breakthrough pill. If they really had such a treasure, then they could use the level 6 energy breakthrough pill to break through to the celestial sage stage. Chapter 2945. No matter which peak level of strength one was at, they would definitely be able to break through again. Looking at their excited expressions, Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and thought to herself, Is the 6th level origin breaking pill that attractive? Then she remembered that there weren't many 6th level pills in Four Corner City, and there were even fewer 6th level origin breaking pills that could allow one to break through cultivation. It seemed like the 3 6th level origin breaking pills she had mentioned earlier was too much. She was deep in thought until she heard a voice. Then she came back to her senses. Miss, do you have a 6th level origin breaking pill? My Yuan family is willing to buy it for 200,000 crystal stones and 10,000 years old spirit herbs. Yuan He, who was on the other side, quickly said, his eyes burning as he stared at Fengjiu. Miss, if you have a 6th level origin breaking pill, I'm willing to buy it for 400,000 crystal stones and 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs. When the Yuan clan's young master heard this, he quickly shouted, Miss, if you sell it to my Yuan clan, I'll definitely give you the best price. Miss, I'm also willing to buy it at a high price. I'll definitely satisfy you. Sell the 6th level origin-breaking pill to me. Missed hearing the voices scrambling to be first, Fengjiu glanced at them indifferently and said unhurriedly, "Not for sale." When the words "not for sale" came out, everyone felt as if their breath was stuck in their throats, not moving up or down, making them uncomfortable. Not for sale? If you're not for sale, then why did you say it in front of so many people? How could they sit still? When the Jiang clan's people heard this, they quickly said, "Didn't Miss say that you would take out 3 6th level origin-breaking pills as the wager? Since it's like this, then how about we add 200,000 crystal stones and 2 sacred tools? 300,000 crystal stones, 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs, and 2 sacred tools?" Fengjiu read out loud while looking at them, asking, "You want to take out these as the wager?" "That's right, that's it. What do you think, Miss?" the middle-aged man asked, his gaze falling on Fengjiu. Hearing this, Fengjiu's gaze shifted slightly. He smiled and said, "I don't mind. However, I want to see the stakes first. I don't like things like trying to gain something without risking anything." As she spoke, she flipped her hand and a pill bottle appeared in her palm. Of course, Sky City must also have an alchemist. Let's ask the alchemist to examine this pill. Let's see if there's anything wrong with my pills. Upon hearing this and seeing her take out the pills, everyone's eyes couldn't help but redden. This was the level 6 breakthrough pill? Did she really have a level 6 yuan breakthrough pill? The steward above had already started making arrangements after they spoke. Not long after, 2 old men walked out. Looking at the red-clothed woman above, they said, "Miss, please come down and examine the pill." Everyone glanced at the 2 alchemists and saw the woman in red handing the pills to the man beside her. Then the man walked down. Leng Hua looked at the 2 pill appraisers and said, "You 2 are testing here, right?" "Exactly." The 2 nodded as they spoke. They waved their hands and had someone bring a rectangular table over. Then they took out the tools to examine the pills. Seeing this, Leng Hua handed the pill bottle over. Then, he stood to the side and watched quietly to prevent them from tampering. Chapter 2946. This is a supreme-grade medicinal pill. The 2 of them exclaimed in amazement. Their eyes were fixed on the 3 medicinal pills on the jade plate as they exclaimed in admiration, "What's the point of testing a medicinal pill like this? This is clearly a 6th-level supreme-grade breakthrough pill. It's a treasure among treasures." Just as the 2 of them were about to take a closer look, they saw that the medicinal pill had already been collected by the young man standing in front of them and placed back into the bottle. What are you doing?" the 2 of them asked, unable to react. Leng Hua glanced at the 2 of them and said, "Since it's already been tested, then this medicinal pill naturally has to be put back." As he spoke, he turned and walked back into the room. Seeing this, the 2 pill appraisers were speechless for a long time. They only looked at the young man who had already turned and left in annoyance. If they had known earlier, they would have carefully studied it. But now, they didn't even have the chance to examine it closely before the treasure was taken back, just like that. Everyone had been staring at the medicinal pill when it was poured into the jade plate. Naturally, they also saw the 6 spiritual auras on the medicinal pill and heard the 2 pill appraisers' words. Naturally, they knew that this was a 6th-level supreme-grade medicinal pill, without a doubt. A 6th-level medicinal pill was already rare, but it was actually a supreme-grade medicinal pill? A supreme-grade medicinal pill represented a medicinal pill without the slightest bit of pill poison. Such a medicinal pill was definitely not something that an ordinary pill refiner could refine. One had to know that most medicinal pills contained pill poison to some extent. It was also because of this that some people could no longer advance after taking an advancement pill. There were also some people who could no longer take another pill after taking a certain amount. Otherwise, the pill poison in their body would exceed the limit and cause hidden dangers to their bodies. Now, this medicinal pill was a supreme-grade medicinal pill without any pill poison. For a moment, everyone's breathing became heavy. Who was the one who refined this pill? When did such a powerful person appear in Four Corner City? a supreme-grade medicinal pill. As far as they knew, even the pill refiners of the 4 great immortal sects were unable to do this. On the other side, the Jiang family members were already impatiently asking, "Miss, can we begin?" "Of course." Fengjiu's lips curled into a smile. With a wave of her sleeve, the shrunken Tan Yun appeared beside her. She reached out her hand, and Tan Yun leaped into her embrace. She hugged the little thing in her arms and looked at the Jiang family below. She asked, "Where are your contracted beasts?" Seeing the little pet in her arms, the surrounding people were a little dumbfounded. "You're using this little pet to fight them?" Someone exclaimed, looking at her with an expression that said, "Are you stupid?" The members of the Jiang family were also stunned when they saw it. Compared to Jiang Shichang's joy, the great elder of the Jiang family and the middle-aged man narrowed their eyes and fixed their gazes on the little pet. Why couldn't they tell what rank this little pet was as a contract beast? Was this really just a pet? If she didn't have a certain level of battle prowess, how could this woman possibly take out 3 top-grade pills as a bet? For a moment, they were confused. If the other party had also summoned a divine beast, perhaps they would not have been so surprised and shocked. However, the other party had summoned such a small thing, which inexplicably made them feel uneasy. No one would gamble when they knew that they were going to lose. Those who knew how to gamble all thought that they could take a gamble. So when they came here, the other party's contracted beast should be on par with theirs.
But now.
Chapter 2947. This is a cloud-swallowing beast, Fengjiu said as he stroked the cloud-swallowing beast's head. Looking at them, he asked with a smile, "Where are your contracted beasts? Since you want to fight, then hurry up. We don't have time to waste here." Hearing this, the great elder of the Jiang family glanced at Jiang Shichang. Jiang Shichang waved his hand and summoned his contracted beast. Raging Flame Dog, come out. His expression was somewhat complacent. As soon as his voice fell, a light flashed, and a huge black beast about 1 meter tall appeared beside him. When they saw the contracted beast, the surrounding people looked at it in astonishment, and then suddenly understood. They were wondering, how did the Jiang family's rank 5 divine beast end up in the hands of the second branch, Jiang Shichang? So it was because the rank 5 divine beast was a dog. Looking at this huge dog, it was completely black without a single strand of hair. Its dog skin was like a cushion that was suffused with luster. Although its 4 legs were covered in flames, its slender dog head and bulging dog eyes made it unlikable. If it was a small pet-type dog, its small body and appearance would be very likable, and some young ladies from aristocratic families would like it. However, if it was a huge type of dog, it was generally seen as ferocious. Even if it was a very high-ranked dog type, those with status would not contract it. Think about it, if a family head had a contract beast that was a dog, he would be laughed at by others. The contract beasts they wanted were generally strong in battle, high in rank, and also of good breed, worthy of their status. Therefore, no matter what, people with status would not choose a dog as their contract beast, even if it was already at the level of a divine beast. Looking at the enlightened expressions of the crowd, Jiang Shichang's complacent expression stiffened, and he shouted, "What's with that look? This is a rank 5 divine beast." So it's a dog beast. No wonder young Master Jiang could obtain it." Yuan he chuckled and looked at the somewhat angry Jiang Shichang with ridicule. His gaze turned and fell on the woman in red. What kind of contract beast was that in her arms? My Sky City has never encountered such a gambling situation. Since it's like this, let me, the host, be the witness for the 2 of you. A middle-aged man in luxurious clothes walked out with his hands behind his back, followed by a steward. It's the master of Sky City. I didn't expect him to come out. That's right. How could 3 rank 6 breakthrough pills not alarm him? The surrounding people discussed in low voices. They were incomparably looking forward to this battle. They were even thinking that if the Jiang family won these 3 pills, they must return to the family and try their best to obtain one. Only a small number of people thought that the Jiang family would lose this battle. The divine beast's roar, the rank 5 divine beast, and the rank 5 divine beasts inside was released. Inside the cage, the rank 5 divine beast was roared in the cage, and roar, the rank 5 divine beast was. And its roar, the rank beast roar, beasts, 2s, the king, the dragon king. Feng Jiu patted Tun Yun's head. Go! Chapter 2948. Just this one was enough to extinguish the flames on the 4 hooves of the majestic raging flame hound. Its original roar also turned into a whimper because of this one glance. Hearing that whimper, the surrounding crowd was stunned. Although it was a dog beast, it was still a 5th-level divine beast. Why did it cower in such a short time? However, what shocked them even more was the following scene. The cloud-swallowing beast walked forward and stopped in front of the giant dog beast. It raised its short claws and slapped forward. The seemingly weak slap actually caused the giant dog beast to flip over. It fell nearly 10 meters away and crashed heavily into the black iron cage. Without waiting for them to recover from their shock, they saw that tiny cloud-swallowing beast pounce forward and violently beat up the rank 5 divine beast. Although it was only its tiny claws and short legs, the banging sounds from the beating actually caused them to involuntarily shiver. What rank was this cloud-devouring beast? It actually suppressed a 5th-level divine beast? Hearing the continuous blood-curdling screams and the fact that the rank 5 divine beast didn't even have a chance to retaliate and was being beaten to a pulp, the surrounding people couldn't help but turn their stiff necks to look at the 3 people from the Jiang family. The 3 men from the Jiang family looked as if they had seen a ghost and didn't know how to describe it. That was a 5th-level divine beast. Even if it was a canine, it was still a divine beast. But it was actually beaten to such a state by a small pet? Seeing that the dog beast's head was swollen beyond recognition, and its body was scratched so deep that its bones could be seen, Zhang Shichong finally couldn't take it anymore and rushed forward. Stop hitting it! Stop hitting it! Stop it! Stop it! That was his contracted beast. No matter what, he had obtained it with great difficulty. If he continued to hit it, it would be wasted. The cloud-devouring beast flipped over and kicked it again. The divine beast howled and spat out a mouthful of blood. A few of its sharp teeth also fell out. Woof woof, the canine beast curled up into a ball, holding its head as it screamed in panic. Its body trembled, and its swollen eyes could no longer be opened. It didn't even dare to look at the cloud-swallowing beast. Master, is this all right? Tun Yun turned around and looked up at his master. Upon hearing such a small pet speak, everyone's expression changed again, especially the people from the Jiang family. Their bodies trembled as they glared at Feng Jiu. You're not an ordinary pet. Feng Jiu raised his eyebrows. Can I summon an ordinary pet to fight with your mythical beast? As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of the 3 Jiang clan members immediately turned red. They originally wanted to use a level 5 divine beast to win the other party's 3 medicinal pills. This was indeed not very generous, but they had a level 5 divine beast. Even if he won, it was only right. But now, with the situation reversed, they couldn't accept the ups and downs of their emotions. Those were all real gold and silver. 10 stalks of 1,000-year-old spiritual herbs, so many crystals, and 2 sacred weapons. If they lost all these things, how could they explain it to their families? Chapter 2949. Hearing this, everyone looked at the woman in red in shock. Sacred beast? Just this little beast? Feng Jiu smiled, but didn't reply. Instead, she turned and walked inside, coming to Xianyuan Mo's side. Are we leaving now? Or do you want to watch the battle for a while longer? Let's go now, Xianyuan Mo said. He stood up, took her hand, and walked down. Luo Yu followed behind them to the first floor. At this moment, Leng Hua had already collected all the things they won. After they came down, he walked up to her. Mistress, we've collected all the things we won. Here are 3 breakthrough energy pills. He handed the bottle of pills to her and stored the other things in another space ring. Feng Jiu took the things and nodded slightly to the owner of Sky City.
Goodbye.
As soon as she finished speaking, She turned to look at the 3 people from the Jiang family, whose faces were flushed with anger. She smiled. "I'll accept your gifts. Take it as an apology from young Master Jiang." As soon as she finished speaking, she smiled and was about to leave with Xianyuan Mo's. However, at this moment, a voice sounded. "Miss, please wait." An old man in a room jumped down from above. He looked at Fengjiu and said, "Miss, I wonder if you can sell a level 6 breakthrough energy pill to this old man? Whatever you want, this old man will do his best to get it for you." Fengjiu smiled and didn't say anything. She held Xianyuan Mo's hand and left. The old man wanted to go forward and say something, but he was stopped by Leng Hua and Luo Yu. Tan Yin raised his head and walked slowly in front of the 3 people from the Jiang family. Only then did he follow Fengjiu and leave. It wasn't until they left that everyone regained their senses. It's over? It's over just like that? They won so many priceless treasures and left just like that? The 3 men from the Jiang family clenched their fists. After Fengjiu and the others left, they gritted their teeth and followed. A sacred beast had won so many treasures from them. Just who was this woman in red? They must get to the bottom of this. Following their departure, the others also left one after another. 3 level 6 energy breakthrough elixirs were elixirs that were enough to cause a commotion in Four Corner City. They originally thought that the Jiang clan would obtain it, but they didn't expect that the Jiang clan would fall into the hands of the red-clothed girl. Seeing the guests leave, the owner of Sky City chuckled. "Interesting, a woman with a cultivation level that no one can see through. She also has a sacred beast and 3 level 6 breakthrough pills. She's really not simple." When the steward heard this, he stepped forward and respectfully said, "Master, this subordinate has already sent people to investigate. I believe that there will be news soon." He replied, clasping his hands behind his back as he turned to leave. He instructed, "Come and report to me as soon as there's any news." With that, he also left. In an inconspicuous corner, Bai Xianxian gently bit her lip as she watched. Only after everyone had left did she retreat to the back. She didn't expect that woman to be so powerful. 3 level 6 energy breakthrough pills and a sacred beast. She really wasn't simple. And the black-robed man she was holding was even more outstanding than the men she had seen before. She really didn't know who these 2 people were. Chapter 2950. For a moment, many factions were trying to find out the identities of these 2 people. At this time, Xianyuan Mo's and Fengjiu were chatting comfortably in the residence. "Master, you've obtained so many crystals today? 2 divine weapons and 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs? Are those people willing to part with these things?" Du Fan looked at the treasures that had been taken out of the space ring and placed on the table. He couldn't help but be speechless. They'd only gone out for a walk and they'd already obtained so many priceless treasures. Not to mention the crystals, just the 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs and 2 divine weapons were already extremely difficult to obtain. Who would have thought that Master had only used a little trick and obtained so many treasures? When Leng Hua heard this, he said, "I've already sent Gu and Mo out to gather information. However, I'm guessing that all the factions will be asking about us." While listening to their conversation, Fengjiu played with the 2 saint tools. One of them was a jade flute. Its entire body was green and translucent. Its head was very clear, and there was a bunch of tassels hanging from it. It was very beautiful. After looking at it, she handed the flute to Leng Hua. "I'll keep this for you to protect yourself." Hearing this, Leng Hua was slightly taken aback. This was because he also had a divine weapon, a flute. However, he rarely used it. Now that Master was giving him this flute, he accepted it with both hands. "Thank you, Master." This flute is indeed only suitable for Leng Hua. His temperament is suitable for a flute. Du Fan said with a smile as he waved his fan. He looked at the other divine weapon and asked with a smile, "Master, what about this one?" Fengjiu chuckled and glanced at him. She picked up the divine weapon and said, "This is a flexible sword, but it can also be turned into a long whip. Among all of you, only Leng Hua and Qingcheng are suitable for this." She paused for a moment and glanced at the two of them. She smiled and said, "However, Lung Shuang's weapon is also a treasure. It doesn't matter if you don't want it. However, Qingqing doesn't have a decent weapon. Let's give this to her." Hearing this, Bai Qingqing, who was slightly startled, responded. She walked forward and took the sword. Looking at the saint weapon, she could not hide the joy in her heart and smiled.
"Thank you, Master."
She did not expect that her master would give her this saint weapon. She was very excited to receive this saint weapon. Keep your spirits up these few days and pay more attention to the movements in the city. In the next few days, I may have to go into seclusion to refine pills, and Mose will also have to go into seclusion to cultivate, so the matters in this residence will be left to you guys to take care of. Feng Jiao instructed. Yes, please rest assured, Master. We will take good care of the manor. They replied in a deep voice. Feng Jiao nodded slightly. He looked at Ling Shuang and said, you have to take care of him.
Don't worry, Master.
Lung Shuang, who was carrying the child, replied. She knew that her task was to take good care of the child and prevent any mishaps from happening. Xianyuan Mose, who was standing at the side, watched as she gave instructions. After she was done, she dismissed everyone. Following their departure, only the two of them were left in the courtyard. He reached out and pulled her into his embrace. He rested his chin on her shoulder and said, Jiao, how can I go into seclusion to cultivate with you like this? Hearing this, Feng Jiao pursed his lips and smiled. What are you worried about? That those people will harm me? You should know that I can handle it. Chapter 2951. Feng Jiao leaned into his embrace and reached out to hold his waist, saying, Don't worry. I know how to handle things properly. You can rest assured and cultivate in seclusion. I can handle all the matters at hand. However, there are many experts above the heavenly god realm in this place. We have to break through as soon as possible and have a certain amount of strength as a foundation. I reckon that I won't be able to break through in a short period of time, so I'll start refining some pills. I'll leave the matter of breaking through to you. In the future, if there's really something that I can't handle, there's still you. She laughed softly and raised her head slightly to look at him. Her hands circled around his neck, and she raised her head to bite his chin. She joked, Otherwise, I'm so beautiful and powerful. What will I do if someone even more powerful takes a fancy to me one day? His chin was suddenly bitten, and he heard her laughter. Xianyuan Mose said, That won't happen. If someone dares to have any ideas about you, it definitely won't let them off. As his voice fell, he leaned over and kissed her red lips. That night, many powers received the news. In the Jiang family patriarch stared at the three people standing in the hall and said in a deep voice, So, the person who won 10,000 years old spiritual herbs, 2 sacred tools, and 300,000 crystal stones only came to Four Corner City in the past 2 days. The three people stood below and didn't even dare to raise their heads as they answered, Yes, yes. According to the news that we've heard, they lived in the residential area we're in as soon as they entered the city. Moreover, that residence is the one with the best terrain. What about their other origins? The Jiang family patriarch asked in a deep voice. We only know that the Shao family bought a residence for them. We didn't find out anything else. As they said this, their heads drooped even lower. Hearing this, the Jiang family patriarch narrowed his eyes. A mere girl actually has a sacred beast in her hands? And she even has 3 6th-level origin-breaking pills? Hee, as long as this news spreads, there will be many people eyeing her even if we don't go to her door. I want to see how she will deal with those people trying to snatch her away. He looked at the 3 people standing in the hall and said in a deep voice, 300,000 crystal stones, 10,000-year spirit herbs, and 2 saint artifacts are definitely not a small fortune in any family. You didn't even inquire about the other party's background before daring to gamble with these things. All of you are brainless. Patriarch, please calm your anger. We know that we were wrong. Hearing the patriarch's deep voice, they hurriedly knelt down. Humph. Can those things come back if they're wrong? He snorted coldly and stared at them. Go to the punishment hall and receive your punishment. Patriarch. The three of them cried out in alarm and raised their heads to look at him at the same time. Patriarch, please show mercy. That person who had entered the disciplinary hall would probably lose half his life if he came out again. This that if I don't teach you a lesson this time, who knows what you'll do next time. The Jiang family patriarch said in a deep voice and stared at them. This punishment is to teach you to think twice before you act. You have to know that we are one of the 8 great families in Four Corner City. If there's even the slightest movement, the other families will keep an eye on us. The families below us will also want to replace us. What you've done outside not only represents you, but also our entire Jiang family. Chapter 2952. You may leave. He waved his sleeves and gestured for the 3 of them to leave. Yes. The 3 of them lowered their eyes and replied. Only then did they stand up and leave. However, their faces were pale. Compared to Jiang Shichang, the great elder and 3rd Master Jiang's expressions were even more unsightly. Their positions in the Jiang clan were not ordinary, but now, the clan head had ordered them to enter the punishment hall. They believed that it wouldn't take long for the entire Jiang clan to know that they, the great elder and 3rd Master Jiang, had been punished to enter the punishment hall. Such a thing was a disgrace to them. After the 3 of them left, an old man walked out from the shadows. He looked at the Jiang family head and sighed. He asked, Family head, by sending the great elder and 3rd master to the disciplinary hall, will it be too much? The Jiang family had turned to look at him and said, You think it's too much? He stood up with his hands behind his back and looked outside deeply. He said, How many people are eyeing the Jiang family? How many people want to overthrow our Jiang family? Compared to the other families, our Jiang family doesn't have any reliable family powerhouses. We can only rely on ourselves to maintain our status. If we don't be careful, how can the Jiang family stand tall in Four Corner City? He sighed softly. The great elder and 3rd master are too arrogant. They haven't suffered any losses all these years. Now, it's good to use this incident as a warning to them. He paused and turned to the old man. Take 2 bottles of medicine and give them to them later. Let them recuperate well. Yes. The old man replied respectfully. He then asked, Family head, those people. We can't touch those people for the time being. He said in a deep voice. He looked outside and said, If we touch those people without knowing their background, who knows what will happen? The great elder and the others are right in front of us. We have to think twice before we act. Now that the news has spread in Four Corner City, we just have to wait and see. Family head is wise. The old man said with a smile. Then he said, Then I'll take my leave. He bowed and left. Yuan family head, is it the family that just moved in? The Yuan family head was slightly surprised. I just heard that someone moved into that house. I didn't expect such people to come.
Who are they?
Did you find out? Yuan he paused for a moment and then said, I couldn't find out where they came from, but I just received a letter from my second brother. He said that the competition between the 4 great immortal sects was interrupted a few days ago. 2 people came down from the immortal ascension stairs, but he said that they were 2 men. Listening to his description, I felt that they were very similar to the 2 people I saw today. The 4 immortal sects annual competition.
And
the immortal ascension stairs. Clan leader Yuan was deep in thought. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. The immortal ascension ladder connects to other immortal cultivation continents. Only those who have reached the immortal emperor realm are qualified to climb the immortal ascension ladder. Does this mean that these 2 have already reached the immortal emperor realm? He was slightly surprised. After all, even on their side, an immortal emperor was considered an extremely powerful expert. They knew very well that although the place the stairway of immortality led to was called the lower realm, there were many powerful cultivators with astonishing strength and talent. Yuan He's expression was strange. He wanted to speak, but he didn't know where to start. Chapter 2953. Second brother said that their sects Venerable CK and Venerable Mu Xian now have 2 more masters, he said with a strange expression. He paused, then continued, And it's those two people. You're saying that the two people who came down from the Immortal Ascension Stairs have become Venerable CK and Venerable Mu Xion's masters? Yuan Clans had stood up in shock, his voice rising slightly. Those two are peak heavenly gods. How could... Yuan, he said with a complicated expression. It said that when they came down from the Immortal Ascension Stairs, many venerables fought to take them as their disciples. Venerable CK and Venerable Mu Xion were no exception. However, when they fought, Venerable CK and Venerable Mu Xion lost, so they took them as their masters. Hiss! Yuan Clans had sucked in a breath of cold air. Lost? Those two are the strongest venerables in the Immortal Sect, but they lost to two people who came down from the Immortal Ascension Stairs? And because of that, they took them as their masters? Is this news true? Second brother's news shouldn't be wrong. Yuan, he said. Second brother also mentioned that the red-robed one is called Fengjiu, the black-robed one is called Xianyuan Mose, and Fengjiu is a pill venerable. He said that if we meet them, we must try to befriend them. Hearing this, Yuan Clan's head's expression became serious. Two venerables who could defeat peak heavenly gods, a sacred beast, and the masters of two peak heavenly gods from the Immortal Sect. Moreover, one of them was an extremely rare pill venerable. No matter which one of these names was put out, it would definitely shock the entire Four Corner City. However, even if they wanted to befriend such people, they probably wouldn't be able to, right? It won't be long before the disciples of the Immortal Sect send this news back to their respective clans. At that time, all the great clans will know about it. He paced back and forth in the hall with his hands clasped behind his back. After thinking for a while, he raised his voice and called out to the outside, "Go, call the elders and the heads of the various branches over. I have something to discuss with them."
Yes,
the butler outside answered, and left quickly. What does father plan to do? Yuan, he asked. What else can we do? Of course, we have to try to make friends with them. Even if we can't make friends with them, we can't have bad relations with them. When we go back, we have to tell the family not to offend them. Yuan, he remained silent and didn't say anything else. Instead, he sat down at the side. He thought of that beautiful woman in red. So, her name was Fengjiu. The next day, Yuan Mose entered the Immortal's cave at the back of the mountain to cultivate in seclusion. Fengjiu began to refine medicinal pills. The matters in the Immortal's cave were left to Lung Hua and the others to handle. However, early in the morning, people came to visit one after another. Looking at the gifts piled up in the hall, Du Fan waved his fan and smiled. So many gifts. I wonder what Master will do when he comes out? Luo Yu picked up a gift and looked at it, saying, "These people are really strange. I already told them that they won't see guests and won't accept gifts. They actually put these precious things in front of the door and left. They really are rich people." Lung Hua looked at those things and said, "Let's put these things in the storeroom first. We'll make arrangements after Master comes out." Chapter 2954. Someone else is probably here. Du Fan smiled and looked outside. "I'll go take a look," Lung Hua said and walked forward. When he came to the front door and saw through the small hole in the door that the person outside was Yuan He, Lung Hua paused for a moment. Yuan He was the young master of the Yuan family in Four Square City. Yesterday, in Sky City, the attitude he showed towards their master also made the Yama Lord very unhappy. He didn't expect that he would also come today. The people in this city were really not easy to deal with. They actually found out about their background so quickly. After their master came here, he was so high-profile and took in two venerables from the Immortal Sect as his disciples. Even if he wanted to keep a low profile, he couldn't. What's more, sometimes, if people were too low profile, they would only be ignored and suppressed. Their master and the Yama Lord had the strength to be high profile, so naturally, they didn't have to blindly keep a low profile. Opening the door, he looked at Yuan He and asked in a gentle voice, "Young Master Yuan, are you here for something?" Yuan He saw that it was this gentle man again, so he said, "On the orders of my father, I came to pay a visit to your master. I wonder if I can meet him?" "I'm really sorry, my master has ordered that the door is closed." Lung Hua said in a gentle voice, standing by the slightly open door and looking at him. Hearing this, Yuan He didn't seem surprised and said, "In that case, please pass on this small gift." He motioned for one of the attendants behind him to deliver the gift. Seeing this, Lung Hua smiled. "I will definitely report to my master." At the same time, he took those things. Farewell. Yuan He cupped his hands and didn't stay any longer, turning around and leaving. After Lung Hua closed the door, he carried the things inside and put them in the storeroom first, then went to the front to find them. At this time, he saw Du Fan and Luo Yu patting their sleeves and walking over from the backyard. When he saw the two of them, Lung Hua asked, "Someone broke into the mansion again?" "Yes, 2 more people who aren't afraid of death came. This is already the 5th group since last night," Du Fan said, waving his fan. "These people know that they can't enter, but they still want to break in. Tell me, if they don't want to live too long, what are they doing?" "The mansion has layers of defense, and you and Master worked together to set up formations and barriers. How can ordinary people break in? However, at most, there will only be people coming over these few days. After a few days, there shouldn't be any more. I haven't heard of any powerful ferocious beasts in Sifong City. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring back 2. Luo Yu said, putting his arm around Du Fan's shoulder. Let's go have a drink." "Lung Hua, do you want to join us?" Lung Hua shook his head. "I won't. I still have to go to the kitchen and take a look at my sister. You guys go ahead."
All right.
The 2 of them agreed and left first. Lung Hua then went to the kitchen and took a look around. Then he went to his sister's courtyard and saw her teaching the little master to walk. He called out, "Sister." Lung Hua looked up, her beautiful eyes filled with a gentle light. "Are you done with the things in front?" Chapter 2955. Master and the Yama Lord are in closed-door cultivation, while the other is refining pills. You have to keep an eye on the mansion, especially the people who came to give gifts, as well as the news from outside. You have to get people to secretly inquire about it. Only then will you not disappoint Master's high hopes for you. Her voice was gentle as she reminded him. She was also very happy to see her brother's growth in the past few years. "Sister, don't worry. I know." Lung Hua replied with a warm smile. He knew better than anyone that they were able to achieve what they had today because they followed a good master. In order to be able to stay by Master's side, he worked harder than anyone else in everything. He was more attentive than anyone else. He would arrange everything that Master needed to do in advance. He would also take care of the trivial matters in the mansion so that Master would have no worries. He knew that it was because of this that the 2 of them were chosen by Master out of so many people. "Sister, I heard that other than the 4 major immortal sects, there are 2 other 4 major sects that are also very strong. Master plans to let Qingqing find a good place to cultivate. I will organize the information in the next few days and hand it to Master. I estimate that Qingqing will have a higher chance of going to the 4 major sects." Then you should investigate thoroughly these few days. When Mistress is done refining the pills, give her the information and let her make the decision. Lung Shuang said slowly and then said, "Go and do your work. I will coax little Master to sleep here, and then I will go and cultivate."
Okay.
Lung Hua stood up and left after hearing this. In the evening, when a strong medicinal fragrance filled the air in the mansion's alchemy courtyard, the servants in the mansion couldn't help but take a deep breath and look at the inner courtyard in surprise. There was unconcealable curiosity in their eyes. After they were brought back by their masters, only a few of them were allowed to enter the inner courtyard. However, they also had to follow the rules and didn't dare to overstep the boundaries. They only knew that the Fu was very big and the people in the Fu, regardless of whether they were men or women, were exceptionally outstanding and mysterious, especially the 2 masters. When the servants who were cleaning the outer courtyard smelled the medicinal fragrance from the inner courtyard, they couldn't help but be curious. What was going on inside? How could there be such a strong medicinal fragrance? Du Fan and the others smelled the medicinal fragrance and knew that their master had probably produced another pill. They couldn't help but smile at each other and continue drinking and chatting. Outside the mansion, a middle-aged man and an old man came to the door. Just as they were about to knock on the door, they smelled a faint medicinal fragrance coming from inside. The two of them stopped in their tracks, their eyes filled with surprise. Is this pill fragrance? Such a rich pill fragrance? Could it be that he is refining pills? The two of them looked at each other in shock. They paused for a moment and then went to knock on the door. It was still Leng Hua who came out. He glanced at the two people outside through the small hole in the door, then opened the door. He looked at the two people standing outside and smiled. Is there something you two need? Sure enough, it was the pill fragrance coming from inside. The two of them took a deep breath. Smelling the pill fragrance, they felt refreshed. What kind of pill was this? For a moment, the two of them stood in front of the door and looked inside, somewhat distracted. What's the matter? Leng Hua asked gently. Chapter 2956. My apologies. My master has ordered that he will not be seeing any guests. Leng Hua smiled apologetically at them as he spoke. Young Master Leng, to tell you the truth, I'm here to ask for a pill. Elder Jiang looked at him and directly stated the purpose of his visit. I don't have much time left in my lifespan. I can see that my lifespan is about to end, but I have no other choice. A level 6 origin breaker pill can help me survive this crisis. So, please pass on my message to your mansion master. No matter what conditions your mansion master offers, I will accept them. I only hope that he can give me a level 6 origin breaker pill. Hearing this, Leng Hua glanced at him and said, All right, I will tell my master. Hearing him agree, the two of them did not let out a sigh of relief. Instead, their hearts were in their throats. He had agreed too easily, as if he did not take it to heart. Elder Jiang took a deep breath and asked, Young Master Leng, can you tell me what are my chances of getting a spirit breaker pill? Because he knew that this young man was not an ordinary follower, he had been very humble from the start. At this moment, the two did not even know that Leng Hua standing in front of them was not inferior to them at all. Hearing this, Leng Hua looked deeply at the old man and said warmly, That's hard to say. The two looked at each other and the old man asked again, Then what are our chances of meeting your master? Leng Hua smiled and said, My master will not be seeing any guests. The old man could not help but feel anxious. He wanted to ask for a pill but did not know if he could get one, and he wanted to meet the master in person but could not. Didn't this mean that there was no chance at all? This way, please. Leng Hua nodded slightly and took a step back and closed the door. Looking at the closed door, Elder Jiang's face was full of worry. What should we do? Qiu Chenghai smelled the faint medicinal fragrance in the air and said, Back in the city in the sky, I could tell that the woman in red had a strange temper. It's normal that she won't see any guests. Let's think of another way. This is the only way now. But what else can we think of? Elder Jiang sighed helplessly. The people in this mansion are not simple. Qiu Chenghai clasped his hands behind his back and said, Look, there's a barrier around the mansion. Even if we try to break in, we probably won't be able to. The two stood outside the mansion for a while before turning to leave. In the mansion, after Feng Jiu entered the alchemy room, she didn't step out for several days. During these days, almost all the families and forces in Foursquare City came to send gifts. Even the Jiang family sent people over. In the end, because there were too many people, Leng Hua had to put up a closed door, no visitors sign outside the door. Only then did things quiet down. At the same time, the people from the various aristocratic families in Four Corner City were also awakened by the thunder. They all jumped onto the roofs of their houses and looked into the distance to see what was going on. Chapter 2957. The place where the heavenly lightning struck was the residence that they had been trying to visit, but had not been able to enter. Seeing this situation, the people from the nearby clans all rushed towards the residence. At the same time, Leng Hua and the others were also on high alert because of the heavenly lightning. They and their contracted beasts stood guard at various places in the residence. When they heard the sound of the 3 bolts of pill lightning, They knew that their master had successfully refined this batch of pills. In the pill refinery courtyard, Fengjiu opened the lid of the pill furnace and looked at the pills inside with a smile. The 9 transformations golden pill's efficacy has increased by several times after adding the 1,000-year snow Ganoderma. This time, there are actually so many pills. What a surprise. The more precious a pill was, the more ancient the method of preserving it. She immediately sealed the 9 transformations golden pill and stored it away. She planned to give one to CK when the time came. After all, if it wasn't for his 1,000-year snow Ganoderma, she wouldn't have been able to refine this pure 9 transformations golden pill. However, just as she put away the pills and walked out of the pill room, she saw over 20 figures rushing towards her from the gradually brightening sky. They gathered their spiritual energy and tried to break the barrier she had set up. Seeing this scene, she raised her eyebrows. What were they trying to do? Were they trying to steal her pills? The people guarding the other places quickly rushed over. Seeing that they had all arrived, Fengjiu glanced at them and said, "These people will be your practice." As soon as she finished speaking, she flicked her sleeve, and a stream of spirit energy shot up, opening a hole in the barrier. When the black-robed men saw this, they raised their heads and laughed. "Feng Jiu, you're courting death." That person laughed, and together with the other 2 people beside him, they broke the barrier. With a loud bang, a stream of spiritual energy spread out as the barrier was broken. Seeing this scene, Fengjiu narrowed her eyes. Divine Realm Practitioners. The 3 people in the lead were actually Divine Realm Practitioners? Where did these 3 Divine Realm Practitioners come from? Kill the others. Capture Fengjiu alive. A cold and gloomy voice rang out. The 20 or so black-clothed men replied in a deep voice, "Yes. That will depend on your abilities." Fengjiu coldly snorted. With a flick of his sleeve, a sharp air current shot out and struck the bodies of several black-clothed men. The black-clothed men who rushed forward were fiercely thrown back. The powerful hidden energy caused the blood in their bodies to surge, causing them to spit out mouthfuls of blood. However, before they could stand up, their bodies twitched and black poisonous blood flowed out from the corners of their mouths. Their eyes rolled back, and they died. Hiss! You used poison. The 3 leaders sucked in a breath of cold air. Several black-clothed men were killed by her just like that. While they were shocked, it also made them even more determined. This Fengjiu must be captured alive. Fengjiu smirked. So, what if I use poison? If you can't hide from me, only death awaits you. As soon as her cold voice resounded, her clear eyes narrowed, and her gaze descended onto one of the Divine Realm Practitioners. In the next moment, her figure flashed out. On the other hand, Leng Hua's group, Tan Yun, Senior Bai, and the others were dealing with the other black-clothed men. Huilang had joined them as well. As for Leng Hua and Ing Yi, they were protecting little Hao in the backyard and didn't come here. Chapter 2958. Seeing that the Shao clan's people had entered to help, the other clans didn't move. The 3 heavenly gods were in the lead, and the black-clothed men weren't weak either. If they suddenly went forward, there would be countless casualties. However, Elder Jiang and Qiu Qinghai, who had been paying attention, rushed over and saw many black-clothed men besieging the mansion. Elder Jiang's eyes lit up, and he immediately wanted to go forward. "What are you doing?" Qiu Qinghai hurriedly pulled him back and said in a low voice, "Don't you see how strong those people are? They're all stronger than us. You're not helping, you're courting death." Elder Jiang's eyes lit up and he said, "I'm not courting death. I'm trying to find a way to survive." With that, he pushed Qiu Qinghai away, and with a tap of his foot, he charged into the mansion as well. "This old Jiang." Qiu Qinghai sighed helplessly. Elder Jiang was an old friend of many years, so he naturally couldn't just watch him throw his life away. At that moment, he didn't have time to think any further and hurriedly followed in. "Wait for me." Seeing 2 more people enter, the others couldn't help but be stunned. Were those 2 tired of living? They actually dared to get involved in a battle between such experts? Yuan He's eyes flickered at the scene, and he lowered his voice to his father. Father, if you want to make friends with them, this is a chance. Hearing this, Patriarch Yuan frowned. How could I not know that this is a chance? However, do you know how high the price will be? 3 heavenly gods and those black-clothed men. Only the main figures of their clans had the strength to resist such a force. Moreover, they might not even survive the battle. Everyone present knew this, but it was precisely because of the risks involved that they didn't dare to take this risk. As for the Shao clan, their main ancestor was the immortal sex Venerable CK, and Venerable CK was Fengjiu's disciple, so they couldn't just stand by and watch. However, it was different for the others. Even if they knew that this was a chance to make friends, no one was willing to risk losing the main pillar of their clan to help them. Hearing his father's words, Yuan he sighed in his heart. He watched from afar and listened to the sounds of battle. They could only hear the sounds of swords clashing inside, as well as the miserable screams. However, due to the high walls of the mansion, they were unable to clearly see what was happening inside. In the manor, Fengjiu glanced at the 2 people who rushed in. Seeing that they were the 2 people he saw in Sky City, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Seeing the 2 of them working together to fight the enemy, he also focused on dealing with one of the heavenly gods. When she saw the sharp sword in the hand of another heaven god stabbing into Gumo's back, a cold glint flashed in her eyes. She instantly attacked with the Qingfeng sword in her hand.
Swish.
Hiss! The sharp sword aura slashed past. The heaven god cultivator, who thought he would kill Gu Mo, couldn't dodge in time. His sword hand was chopped off by Fengjiu's sword aura. In an instant, the severed arm and the sword fell to the ground and rolled twice. Blood splattered all over the ground. Fengjiu. The man gritted his teeth and roared in anger. He quickly sealed his acupoints and retreated. His cold gaze was like a venomous snake's as he stared at Fengjiu. He looked like he wanted to eat her flesh and drink her blood. Chapter 2959. Her figure flashed, and at the same time, she raised her sword and pointed it at the heavenly god cultivator whose hand she had cut off. A sharp killing intent was instantly released from her body, and with her extremely fast speed and strange movement technique, she appeared behind the heavenly god cultivator in a breath's time. The long sword in her hand slit his throat, and when blood spurted out, his body stiffened. Killing you is as easy as pie. As soon as Fengjiu's voice fell, she pulled out the long sword in her hand. The long sword immediately swept across the man's neck, cutting open the wound and taking his life.
Bang.
Hiss! You actually killed him. When the other 2 celestial gods saw this, their faces turned pale. They didn't expect that a celestial god realm expert would be killed so easily in her hands. One should know that even in Four Corner City, celestial god realm experts were already top-notch existences. However, they were killed just like that.
Chi.
Fengjiu sneered and waved the long sword in her hand. Sword Chi shot out, hitting a black-robed man. With a muffled groan, the black-robed man also fell to the ground. Do you think I have to spare the lives of those who attacked me? Her lips curled into a smile, and her clear eyes stared at them, saying, Since you've come, don't even think about leaving. Inexplicably, hearing these words, the 2 of them were shocked. If she had said these words before, they would definitely have raised their heads and laughed, laughing at her overestimation of her strength, laughing at her arrogance. But now, seeing her take the life of a heavenly god cultivator in a few breaths' time, this kind of strength was already strong enough to make them wary. They were all heavenly gods, and when they received the order, they thought that the people around her were not strong enough, and that she could take their lives with a flick of a finger. And this Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's, even if they were heavenly gods, there were 3 of them. As long as the 3 of them worked together, they would definitely be able to take them down. But who would have thought that tonight's surprise attack, without even seeing Xianyuan Mo's, would cause them to suffer heavy casualties just by Fengjiu alone? On the other hand, none of the people they had originally thought highly of were able to kill them. Seeing that the situation was becoming more and more unfavorable for them, the 2 celestial cultivators signaled with their eyes and prepared to retreat. However, at that moment, Xianyuan Mose, dressed in a black robe and with a cold expression, appeared in the air and blocked their path of retreat. Seeing Xianyuan Mose come out, Fengjiu glanced at him and said, "One for each of us." As soon as she finished speaking, her figure shot out and attacked one of the heavenly gods. At the same time, Xianyuan Mose condensed a stream of air in his hand. His black figure flashed and shot out like a ghost. An overwhelming killing intent spread out. The powerful killing intent and terrifying pressure instantly enveloped them, causing their hearts to tremble. Shock and fear appeared in their eyes. It was also at the moment when the two of them struck down that the two heavenly gods finally crushed their life-saving magic treasures. They instantly turned into streaks of light and disappeared into the air. They did not even care about the lives of the remaining black-robed men and fled for their lives. Seeing that her attack missed, Fengjiu was slightly stunned. They actually escaped? Xianyuan Mose waved his hand and dispersed the stream of air. He came to her side and said, "Cultivators at that level would more or less have life-saving treasures on them. It's not strange for them to escape." As he spoke, he looked at her and asked, "How are you? Are you hurt?" Chapter 2960. I'm not injured. I just came out from refining pills and was wearing casual clothes. I haven't changed in a few days, so I'm a little dirty. She smiled and didn't care about her appearance. Instead, she turned to look at the others. "Rest for a while,"
Xianyuan Mose said.
He asked her to stand aside and rest for a while he went forward to help deal with the remaining black-clothed men. With his heavenly god-level strength, it didn't take long for the black-clothed men to die at his hands. When he saw the strangers, his eyes moved slightly. Sha Jitao greets the ancestor. Shao family head saw him looking over and hurriedly led the four people behind him to bow. Even though they were all injured, they didn't dare to show any disrespect in front of Xianyuan Mose. This was the master of their old ancestor. Even their old ancestor had to be respectful in this place. They naturally did not dare to be disrespectful in the slightest. Originally, they didn't know the origins of these two people, so they called them young masters. Now that they knew who they were, they naturally didn't dare to call them young masters. Instead, they called them ancestor. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose's eyes moved slightly. He asked in a deep voice, "You're CK's clansman?" In reply to the ancestral master, "We are from the branch family and have never seen the ancestral master before. However, the ancestral master has instructed us to take care of the two ancestral masters in the city," the Shao family head said respectfully. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose nodded slightly and said, "You're very considerate. Treat your wounds first." Hearing this, the Shao family members were delighted. They hurriedly agreed and retreated to the side. "Why are the two of you here?" Xianyuan Mose's gaze fell on Elder Jiang and Xiao Qinghai. The Shao family members had come to help because they had connections. However, these two people didn't know them at all.
How could they get involved?
Elder Zhang's mouth moved. Just as he was thinking about what to say, he saw Fengjiu walk over. "Everyone is injured. Let's rest first." Fengjiu looked at the two of them as he spoke. He glanced at the corpses on the ground and looked at Leng Hua and the others. Although they were not seriously injured, they were more or less lightly injured. He said, "Leng Hua, clean up the corpses and check if there are any clues."
Yes.
Leng Hua nodded and checked the corpse with Luo Yu and the others. They took everything from the corpse and disposed of it. As the sky gradually brightened, the first ray of sunlight shone into the mansion through the shade of the trees. When the cultivators from the various clans saw that the commotion had calmed down, they couldn't help but have the urge to go in and take a look. Who killed who? Are Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose still alive? Were the people who rushed in still alive? For a moment, they all had these questions in their minds. However, they didn't dare to go forward to investigate. Instead, the heads of the various clans went back first, leaving one or two people behind to inquire about the situation. Yuan he couldn't hear what was going on inside, but he felt that Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose must be safe. Those people shouldn't be able to do anything to them. However, because his father didn't dare to take the risk, the Yuan family missed the opportunity to make friends with them. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This kind of opportunity won't come again in the future. He shouldn't have missed it. Chapter 2961. Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mose, who had bathed and changed into clean red clothes, sat on the main seat. Below them were the 4 members of the Xiao family, as well as Elder Jiang and Qiu Qinghai. Due to the status of the two on the main seat, the 4 members of the Xiao family didn't dare to relax even though they were sitting in the hall. Instead, they tensed up their bodies nervously and sat up straight. Elder Jiang was so nervous that he occasionally lifted his sleeve to wipe the sweat on his forehead. Compared to the members of the Xiao family, he was nervous and worried because this was related to whether he could survive or not. Qiu Qinghai could be said to be the most indifferent among them. He sat there as if he couldn't sit still. Sometimes, he would take a sip of tea and play with the teacup in his hand. Then, he would look at the members of the Xiao family sitting opposite him. Previously, he heard them call the 2 on the main seat their ancestors. Ancestors? These 2 people and the Xiao family? He lowered his eyes and played with the teacup in his hand. He sat there quietly and listened. After taking a sip of tea, Feng Jiu glanced at Elder Jiang and said, "You want the spirit-breaking pill?" Hearing this, Elder Jiang was stunned. Qiu Qinghai also looked up instinctively. The members of the Xiao family sitting opposite him also looked at Elder Jiang in astonishment. Spirit-breaking pill? It turned out that this old man had an ulterior motive for helping.
No.
Elder Jiang hurriedly said, "I want the spirit-breaking pill, but I don't want to use this opportunity to ask for the pill. It's because I can't even see you once, so I want to take this opportunity to see you again so that I can ask for the pill from you." As he spoke, he continued, "I have old injuries on my body, and my strength has regressed. Now that my lifespan is nearing its end, I know that if I can't avoid this calamity, I will definitely die in a year's time. That's why I wanted to help." Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled. "This should be the truth. I don't dare to deceive you." Elder Jiang hurriedly said, "There are more than 1 people who want the spirit-breaking pill. Tell me, why should I give you the spirit-breaking pill? Is it just because of your help today?" Feng Jiu asked, staring at him. "I don't dare." Elder Jiang stood up and solemnly said, "I only want to see Miss and let Miss know that I'm sincerely here to ask for the pill. Moreover, as long as Miss gives me the conditions, I'll do my best to fulfill them." Hearing this, Feng Jiu leaned back and looked at him. Leng Hua. Leng Hua stepped forward, took out a list from his sleeve, and handed it to Elder Jiang, then retreated to the side. "If you can gather all the items on this list within a year, you can bring them over to exchange for a level 6 yuan breakthrough pill," Feng Jiu said unhurriedly, lowering his eyes to drink his tea. Hearing those words, Elder Jiang was overjoyed. He hurriedly lowered his head to take a look. Upon taking a look, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. The things on it were no ordinary things. It would not be easy to find them. Qiu Qinghai leaned forward to take a look, and then said to Elder Jiang, "This is finally a chance for survival. Don't worry. I'll help find them. The 2 of you, please go ahead. I still have things to take care of here." Chapter 2962. After Leng Hua sent the 2 of them out, he said, "Master, they've already left." Feng Jiu replied. He looked at the Xiao family members and said, "Master Xiao." "Yes, Master Xiao." Master Xiao hurriedly stood up and replied respectfully. "I'll find an opportunity to tell CK about your help," Feng Jiu said slowly. Master Xiao smiled when he heard this. He hurriedly said, "Since the old ancestor has instructed us, we wouldn't dare to make any mistakes. Furthermore, this is what we should do. Ancestral Master, you don't have to take it to heart. You're also injured. Go back early. Take care of your bodies. If there's anything you can't handle in the future, you can come to the manor to report." "Thank you, Ancestral Master." Master Xiao thanked him happily. "Thank you, Ancestral Master." The others hurriedly stood up and thanked him. "Leng Hua, send them out." Fengjiu gestured. Yes, master. Leng Hua replied and gestured for them to leave. After they left, Fengjiu asked, how are, and the others?
Don't worry, master.
The little master is being protected by Leng Hua and Yingyi. He's very safe, Du Fan replied. Fengjiu nodded when he heard this. He glanced at them and saw that they were all injured. He said, You're all dismissed. Yes, master. They bowed and left. Only Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose were left in the hall. You said you were going to cultivate in seclusion. Why did you come out when you heard the commotion? Fengjiu held Xianyuan Mose's hand and asked with a smile. The commotion caused by your alchemy was so big that I knew it would attract a lot of people. I was worried that I wouldn't be in the mood to cultivate, so I came out to take a look. He paused for a moment before continuing. We've only just arrived here, so we haven't made any enemies yet. Who could these people be? 3 heavenly deity cultivators. Clearly, they are not from an ordinary power. Also, they said that they want to capture me alive. They must have taken a liking to my pill concoction technique. It's really hard to guess. She sighed and said, In short, we have to be more careful in the future. Xianyuan Mose looked at her and said worriedly, Then you have to be more careful. Don't let others take advantage of you. Yes, I know. She chuckled and asked, Are you still going back to the back mountain to cultivate? Take it slow. There's no hurry. He was so worried that he couldn't concentrate on his cultivation. Although he knew that she could handle it, he couldn't relax when he thought about how he wasn't by her side when she was in danger. That's right, CK gave me 1,000-year snow Ganoderma last time. I used it to mix into the 9 transformations golden pill. Now that I've refined it, the medicinal effects are even purer and better than before. As she spoke, she took out a pill sealed in a thick layer of Ganoderma from her space. Keep this one. Xianyuan Mose glanced at it and said, I still have the one you gave me last time. Fengjiu rolled his eyes. You can keep it even if you still have it. This is called just in case. It's never wrong to have a few more on you. Seeing this, Xianyuan Mose kept the pill. He saw that she had dark circles under her eyes and a trace of fatigue on her face. He said, You haven't slept in days refining pills, right? Quickly go and rest. I'll get the kitchen to prepare some of your favorite food. You can eat it when you wake up. All right, then you can go and see Howard later. I'll go and rest first. She stood up and stretched her neck before walking out. Chapter 2963. Not long after they found out that the Xiao clan had returned home safely, they also found out that the black-clothed men who had attacked them this morning were all killed without leaving a single survivor. As for the 3 enlightened realm cultivators who had led the group, one of them had died, while the other 2 had escaped. When they received this result, they were all speechless. They increasingly felt that Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose were mysterious and powerful. 3 enlightened realm cultivators and more than 20 black-clothed men were actually unable to do anything to them. Who would dare to scheme against them with such a battle prowess? 2 days later, Fengjiu called everyone to the hall. His gaze swept past everyone and landed on by Qingcheng. Qingcheng, pack your things. In 2 days, we will set off for one of the 4 great sects, the Lu Xian sect, to participate in the disciple assessment. Hearing this, Bai Qingcheng was startled. She could not help but feel anxious, but Qingcheng wants to stay by your side. Moreover, if I cultivate by your side, it will definitely not be any worse than entering the Lu Xian sect. Fengjiu smiled and said, Don't be in such a hurry. Let me finish. She looked at her and said, The 4-corner city we are in right now is located in the eastern region. In this region, there are the 4 great immortal sects and 4 great sects. I've already mentioned the 4 great immortal sects to you. They are the 4 sects that competed in the last competition. The strength of the 4 great sects is not inferior to the 4 great immortal sects. The system of the sects is different from that of the other sections. There are also many hidden experts. I helped you choose the Lu Xian sect because this sect's cultivation method is most suitable for you to cultivate. If you follow me, I can only give you a few pointers. However, it will be different if you go to the Lu Xian sect. Every year, they will have a secret realm to train. That is a place where one's opportunities depend on one's luck. I also saw this point, which is why I let you go to the Lucien sect for the assessment. With your strength and talent, you will definitely be able to stand out in there. When the time comes, if there is a secret realm to train, you must do your best to fight for it. Who knows, you might have a great opportunity. Hearing this, Bai Qingcheng bit her lips and replied softly, yes, Qingcheng will listen to Master's arrangements. Master had schemed every step of the way, but it was all for them. How could she disappoint her? You've only been by my side for a short period of time, but in the past 1 or 2 years, your temperament has become much more stable. You can deal with things outside by yourself. If there are any problems or troubles that you can't solve in the future, you can come back to us for help. Feng Jiu explained. At the same time, he handed her a spatial ring. There's something I've prepared for you.
You can keep it.
Thank you, Master. She stepped forward and received it respectfully. She held it tightly in her hands. She knew that she would not be able to see them for a while. As for the others, you've just advanced on the immortal ascension stairs. You won't be able to advance any further in a short period of time. However, during this period of time, you can stabilize your strength. The few of you can form a small mercenary team at the Mercenary Guild in Four Corner City. You can go on missions to improve your combat strength and adaptability. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. Master, are we all going? Hearing this, it seemed that Master and the Yama Lord would not be going. Only the few of them would be going. Chapter 2964. Luo Yu glanced at them and calculated before he said, so in this way, it's me, Du Fan, Fan Lin, Gu Mo, and Wei Feng. If we add Hui Lang, it'll be 6 people? 6 people in a small mercenary group? Yes, you're all experienced. Here, you're all in a small group, so it shouldn't be a big problem for you.
Feng Jiu said.
He looked at them and said, let's arrange things like this for now. Go and prepare yourselves. Also, Qingcheng, when you're leaving, don't let anyone see you leave from this residence. Otherwise, you'll be targeted. Feng Jiu instructed. Yes, Master, don't worry. I understand. Bai Qingcheng replied. Hui Lang, are you going? They looked at Hui Lang and asked. Hui Lang scratched his head and asked, when are we going? The carriage I ordered needs to be checked in 2 days. Later, we'll go to the Mercenary Association to take a look. After registering, we'll accept a mission and leave. If you don't want to go, you can leave. Luo Yu said. Hui Lang thought for a moment and said, it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with staying. How about this? I'll ask if the carriage is ready and ask them to hurry up. Then I'll go with you. With Master and the ghost doctor here, nothing will happen. There's no need to worry too much. Thus, after discussing, they went their separate ways. Du Fan and the others went to the Mercenary Association to register a mercenary group. Hui Lang went to see when the carriage would be ready. Bai Qingcheng was also preparing to leave for the Lucien sect. Leng Hua continued to observe all the big and small matters in the manor, while Leng Shuang took Hao with her. Seeing that Feng Jiu had arranged everything, Xianyuan Mose went to the cave in the back of the mountain to cultivate in seclusion. Feng Jiu, who was idling in the residence, flipped through medical books and researched medicine. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The next day, Hui Lang arrived at Feng Jiu courtyard and called out, Ghost Doctor, the carriage can be retrieved today. Do you want to come with us to take a look? If there's anything you're not satisfied with, you can ask them to change their defeat. Feng Jiu was mixing the medicine. He wrapped the medicine and handed it to Bai Qingcheng. Keep some for yourself and give the rest to Luo Yu and the others. Tell them the use of these medicine. Yes. Bai Qingcheng replied before she walked out. Feng Jiu looked at Hui Lang, stood up and flicked his robe. That's fine. I've been staying in the mansion for the past few days and haven't gone out at all. Let's go take a look around. Shall we leave now? Hui Lang asked. Call Leng Shuang and ask her to bring Hao Er along. We'll go shopping and buy some things. She smiled and walked out. Hui Lang hurriedly followed. Including the carriage that had been scratched on the street last time, the carriage that the family had sent as compensation, and the one that they were going to retrieve now. They had 3 carriages. Thus, Fengjiu let Huileng drive the one that had been scratched and planned to sell this one on the way back. When they arrived at the place where Huileng had ordered the carriage, they stopped in front of the door. Fengjiu took a look and was slightly surprised. There's such a large carriage custom-made shop in the city. Chapter 2965. Upon hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and said, "Then I'll have to go in and take a look." A man inside saw Huileng and greeted him with a smile. "Young master, are you here to pick up the goods?" "I brought my wife here to take a look." "I'll pick up the carriage later," Huileng said as he grinned at Fengjiu. "Madam, please come in." Leng Shuang followed behind with her child in her arms. When she heard Huileng call Fengjiu madam, she couldn't help but smile. Fengjiu only glanced at Huileng before walking in. The man led them in and said with a smile, "Madam, what would you like to see? Our weapons are all placed separately. I can bring you around to see if there's anything suitable. Then, let's take a look first. We'll talk about it when we see something suitable," Fengjiu said as she walked in slowly. The man looked at Fengjiu and introduced with a smile, "Madam, please take a look. These are the finished products that some customers brought over and asked our weaponsmiths to make. They're still here and haven't been taken away. For example, the styles and swords of these weapons can be modified according to your preferences. Like this one. This hairpin looks ordinary, but it's actually an offensive magic weapon. And this boat is a defensive flying device." As the man introduced her, he pondered, could this woman in red be the one who had been secretly rumored recently? He looked at her in his heart, but he didn't dare to be too presumptuous.
"We won't look at the rest."
"Where are the ones that you can sell?" Fengjiu stopped and asked. Madam, they're here."
"Please come with me."
The man smiled and led them to the other side. "The weapons here are all made by our weaponsmiths. We have all kinds of weapons. Madam, please take a look and see if there's anything you like." The man smiled and said, "Our weaponsmiths are distributed in various cities and towns. This square city is only one of our distribution points. Our weaponsmiths are all first class, so the weapons they make are naturally extraordinary. As long as Madam likes it, you won't go wrong if you buy it." Fengjiu picked up a dagger and looked at it. She saw that the dagger's jacket was exquisitely carved and was inlaid with a few gems. It was very gorgeous. She lifted the cover of the dagger and looked at it. A sharp, cold light flashed, and a trace of icy aura spread out. "Good dagger," she praised. The cold light of this dagger was very intimidating. It was a treasure that could cut iron like mud. Madam has good eyesight. This is the only dagger in our building. It's a soul-chasing dagger made by a weaponsmithing venerable. This soul-chasing dagger isn't simple. As long as you drip blood on it and recognize it as its owner, this soul-chasing dagger can be hidden in your hand. Moreover, it's incomparably sharp. Even a copper wall will be left with a light scratch." Fengjiu played with it while looking at the dagger and the gorgeous jacket. Seeing that the two didn't seem to match, she asked, "Did you add the jacket on the dagger yourself? It looks too gorgeous and doesn't match the dagger." Chapter 2966. However, if Madam doesn't like this set, you can just buy this soul-chasing dagger. However, this soul-chasing dagger alone costs 200,000 crystals. The man said as he looked at Fengjiu's expression. Huileng heard this and exclaimed, "You're robbing us. 200,000 crystals? This is just a broken dagger?" This is a dagger refined by a weapon refiner's supremacy. It can't be compared to an ordinary dagger," the man said with a smile, still looking at Fengjiu. He knew that whether he bought it or not, it was still up to her. "Take it first. Let's look at the others," Fengjiu said as she continued to walk inside. Her gaze swept past the weapons and finally landed on a neatly folded black item. She gestured and asked, "What's that?" "That's a defensive soft armor. It's a mid-tier sacred weapon. It's refined from the toughest beast tendons and black spirit rhinoceros skin. It can withstand 3 attacks from a heavenly god." Its defensive power is extremely strong. Moreover, it has the effect of reducing force and reducing damage. It's a treasure that's hard to come by. Show it to me. She gestured.
All right.
The man took it out and unfolded it for her to see. He said, as long as you drip blood on it, the size of this defensive soft armor will change according to your figure. What's the price? Huilang couldn't help but ask. Hee, this is cheaper than the previous dagger because this isn't a treasure refined by a weapon refiner supremacy. It's the work of a weapon refiner grandmaster. If Madam wants it together, this defensive soft armor can be sold for 20,000 crystals. Take it. We'll settle the bill together later. Fengjiu said and gestured for him to take it. All right, Madam, let's look at the others. We also have things like boots and... The man said as he brought out the items for her to see. However, looking at those items, Fengjiu didn't have much interest. In the end, she only bought these 2 items. After settling the bill, she passed these 2 items to Leng Shuang. Drip blood on it and let's see. She gestured and hugged little Hao, who was looking around in her arms. Leng Shuang was stunned. Master, this is for me? Yes, keep it for self-defense. Fengjiu replied. But it's so expensive. She thought that her master was buying it, but she didn't expect that it was for her. It's fine, take it. As she spoke, she gestured for her. Seeing Master Leng Shuang's, the dagger disappeared from her hand. With a thought, the dagger, with SSS hand with 8 T, S, T. Looking at the scene, Leng Shuang was slightly surprised. It really became smaller. A smile appeared in her eyes, and she asked again, is there a place to change clothes? This way. The man glanced at Leng Shuang and led her to the side. Not long after, Leng Shuang, who had also put on the soft armor, came back and said, Master, it really is as he said. It can automatically change size and is very light. I can't feel its weight. Yes, as long as it's useful. Fengjiu smiled and nodded. She said to the man, where's our carriage?
Take us to see it.
Chapter 2967. The black cloth fell to the ground, and the luxurious yet low-key carriage appeared in front of them. Fengjiu looked around the carriage while Huilang went inside and opened some mechanisms. She nodded with satisfaction. Not bad, it's really good. It's good that Madam is satisfied. This carriage cost a lot of money. Huilang grinned. Did you pay for the carriage? Fengjiu asked. Yes, we can leave after we get the carriage. Huilang said. Seeing this, Fengjiu nodded and waved her sleeve. 2 purple gold spirit deer appeared in front of them. Looking at the 2 beautiful spirit deer, Huilang's eyes widened. He wanted to touch the spirit deer with curiosity, but the spirit deer took a step back and avoided his hand. At the same time, they cried out.
Ah ha ha ha.
Little Hao, who was in Fengjiu's arms, saw the spirit deer and immediately waved his hands excitedly and giggled. Madam, these are the purple gold spirit deer? They're so beautiful. Is Madam going to use them to pull the carriage? Huilang asked while looking at the 2 spirit deer. These 2 spirit deer actually didn't let him touch them? Fengjiu smiled. Yes, this carriage will be pulled by them. Put the rope on them. Fengjiu carried little Hao forward and touched the antlers with his little hand. Go. After hearing her words, the 2 spirit deer walked in front of Huilang.
Hee.
Huilang grinned and took the opportunity to touch the antlers. After the 2 spirit deer were tied, he said, Madam, get in the carriage. Where do you want to go? I'll take you.
Wait.
A voice came. Huilang looked back and saw a few figures walking over. Among them was a beautiful woman in red. When she saw Fengjiu, who was also in red, she frowned. At this time, Fengjiu's back was facing them. She didn't turn back to look at the voice behind her. Instead, she carried little Hao and stepped on a small stool to get into the carriage and sat inside. Leng Shuang also got into the carriage, but he sat outside and didn't go in. The people who arrived were immediately attracted by the 2 purple gold spirit deer. Seeing the 2 rare purple gold spirit deer become spirit beasts to pull the carriage, they couldn't help but feel a little pained. These are extremely precious purple gold spirit deer. Using them to pull a carriage? What a waste. A man shook his head and sighed. His eyes were glued to the two violet gold spirit deer. I've never heard of purple gold spirit deer in Four City. Could they be from outside? Another man in embroidered clothes said. When he wanted to touch the deer's antlers, the purple gold spirit deer snorted and avoided him. The man in embroidered clothes was startled and laughed. Interesting. I like it.
Puffed.
These are purple gold spirit deer. Who doesn't like them? The other two people said. At this time, the beautiful woman in red glanced at them and said, Since you like them, why don't you let the owner sell these two spirit deer to us? Gray Wolf, who was holding the leash, was slightly stunned when he heard this. He suspiciously sized up the beautiful woman in red. Because his gaze was too blatant, the woman in red coldly snorted and unhappily asked, What are you looking at? Chapter 2968. How dare you? The beautiful woman in red was enraged. With a wave of her hand, a soft whip lashed out at Hui Lang. Hui Lang was about to retaliate when he saw another whip wrap around the woman's whip. The two whips lashed at each other, neither giving way to the other. He turned around and saw that it was Lung Shuang who had made the move. With a cheeky smile, he said excitedly, Lung Shuang, you actually protected me. Feng Jiu's lips curled into a smile when he heard this from inside the carriage. Why was Hui Lang so indecent? How could he still be in the mood to tease Lung Shuang when he was already in a fight? Lung Shuang glanced at him, but did not say anything. Instead, he tightened his grip on the whip and flung the woman's whip away. Because of the force, the woman was also pushed back a few steps before she could steady herself. Before she could speak, Lung Shuang asked coldly, What are you doing? Did you just buy a soul-chasing dagger? The beautiful woman asked. She stared at Lung Shuang and felt a little annoyed. Her whip was actually flung away by such a woman. Moreover, the whip in her hand did not seem to be inferior to hers. Lung Shuang glanced at her and then looked at the man who had been introducing the weapons to them. He said coldly, Is this how you handle things? The man vaguely guessed the identity of Feng Jiu and the others, so he didn't dare to be careless. When he saw the woman in tight black clothes staring at him, he hurriedly said, We didn't call them here. As he spoke, he looked at the brocade-clad people and said, Young masters and young mistresses, your weapons have already been bought. If you continue to act like this, I'm afraid you will be blacklisted by our foundry. The beautiful woman clenched her teeth and stared at the woman in red sitting in the carriage, without saying a word. However, now that the carriage door was closed, she could not see what the person inside looked like. She did not want to leave like this, but with one look, she knew that these people did not lack crystal stones. She had no other choice but to retreat to the side with her whip. Meanwhile, a man in luxurious clothes at the side stared at the two violet gold spirit deer for a few moments before he turned to look at Lung Shuang and asked, Miss, may I ask if we can buy some antler powder from you? Lung Shuang put away his whip and returned to his horse. He sat down and said to Hui Lang, Let's go. Okay. Gray Wolf answered, then jumped onto the carriage and drove the two purple gold spirit deer away. That man still wanted to say something, but the man in the building who couldn't stand it stepped forward and said, Young masters, it's best if you don't provoke them. These people aren't ordinary people. Hearing this, the man in luxurious clothes turned to the man and asked, What do you mean? You are not from here, right? The man in the building asked with a smile. The man in luxurious clothes smiled. That's right. We just arrived here yesterday. We plan to celebrate my uncle's birthday.
Oh.
Young masters and young mistresses, you have an extraordinary bearing. Presumably, your uncle is also a person of importance in the city? The man said with a smile and stared at them. Hearing this, the man in luxurious clothes smiled. My uncle is the head of the Jiang family, one of the 8 great families in Foursquare City. Chapter 2969. They looked at each other and asked, What's the meaning of this? Why did they feel that this person's smile was somewhat ambiguous? Hee hee, you'll know when you make a trip to the Jiang family. I won't say much. I have to go back and greet the guests. Excuse me. He smiled, cupped his hands in salute, and then turned to leave. Who was that madam? Perhaps the ordinary people in the city didn't know, but the various forces knew. They probably already told their disciples to be careful not to provoke her when they went out. These people actually dared to snatch something from them? Were they tired of living? Looking at this scene, the man in luxurious clothes pondered and said, "How about this? I'll make a trip to the Jiang family first. Don't you want to make a trip to the main family? Then let's make an appointment to meet in the evening." Seeing this, the others nodded. Seeing that the carriage wasn't something that ordinary people could afford, and the words of the man in the building made them feel somewhat uneasy. They were afraid that they would accidentally offend a powerful person. At that time, it would be too late for regrets. After they left, they went to their respective main families. Apart from the man in luxurious clothes who came to celebrate his uncle's birthday, the others were disciples of some of the city's branch families. This time, they also came with a mission. After they left, the man in the building also went inside and told the steward about receiving the Fingjiu. On the other side, 2 purple gold spirit deer were pulling a luxurious and low-key carriage. However, it couldn't be low-key. Almost as soon as it entered the street, everyone's eyes fell on the spirit beast carriage. They had seen carriages and spirit beasts pulling carriages, but it was almost impossible to see such a rare purple gold spirit deer pulling a carriage. Even if someone obtained a spirit beast like the purple gold spirit deer, they would be kept in captivity. How could they be tied with ropes and become spirit beasts pulling carriages? Some people didn't recognize what kind of deer those 2 were, but they saw that the 2 spirit deer were exceptionally beautiful and knew that they were extraordinary. They began to whisper to each other. What kind of deer are those? Why haven't I seen them before? I've also never seen such beautiful deer. How can these 2 spirit beasts be so strong to pull that carriage? These are purple gold spirit deer, rare among deer. It's said that the purple gold spirit deer's entire body is a treasure. The antler powder scraped from the antlers is a holy antidote, not to mention the deer blood.
Ah.
Purple gold spirit deer? These are purple gold spirit deer? Aren't they very precious? How can they be used to pull carriages? Someone exclaimed with an expression of disbelief. Some people's eyes lit up when they heard that the violet gold spirit deer were full of treasures. They stared at the 2 adult violet gold spirit deer until they heard another low voice. Hee hee, you guys don't know? The person sitting in this car is no ordinary person. Hearing this, many people looked over and asked, "What do you mean?" He didn't even see a shadow of a person. "This old man won't tell you," the old man said while stroking his beard. He glanced at them and didn't speak. "I think you don't know. You're pretending to be mysterious." Chapter 2970. Grey Wolf hurriedly ordered the rope in his hand to stop the car. He looked at the woman who was charging towards the deer and shouted loudly, "What are you doing?
Stop.
Don't come close." However, the woman ran even faster because of his words. She rushed forward and tried to grab the antlers with both hands. When the purple gold spirit deer saw this, it lifted a hoof and kicked the woman several meters away. It didn't dare to use too much strength because its master had told it not to kill. It only let people get away from them.
Ah.
The woman screamed exaggeratedly. She fell to the ground and cried, "Murder! Murder!" Hui Lang stared. Before he could praise the spirit deer for its agility, he heard the woman scream exaggeratedly. She didn't stand up, but crawled on the ground and blocked the middle of the street, as if she wouldn't let them leave. Lung Shuang glanced at her, pursed his lips, and didn't say anything. Hui Lang handed the rope to Lung Shuang and got off the carriage. He walked towards the woman and shouted, "Hey, what are you screaming for? What are you doing blocking the street?" "The spirit deer kicked me. I'm seriously injured and can't get up. You have to compensate me, compensate me." Before she finished, Hui Lang interrupted her. "Compensate you?" Hui Lang looked at the woman with a startled expression. It was clearly the woman who rushed forward. The spirit deer was protecting itself. How could it deliberately kick her? No. Compensate me for the spirit deer's antler powder. The woman quickly said, then lay on the ground and wailed again. The surrounding people looked at the scene and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. What a talent. She actually went up to extort? Wasn't she too bold? Did she even know who was sitting in the spirit beast carriage? Hearing the woman's words, Huilang couldn't help but laugh with his hands on his hips. Spirit deer's antler powder? Is there something wrong with your head? Seeing this, the woman immediately shouted at the top of her lungs, Io, someone's dying. I'm dying.
Ah!
A mournful scream suddenly rang out in this bustling street. A smear of blood splashed out, causing the hearts of the surrounding people who were watching the show to tighten. The smiles on their faces disappeared. They swallowed their saliva and watched as the man with his hands on his hips pulled out his sword and sliced off one of the ears of the woman who was screaming on the ground. At the same time the ear flew out, a shrill scream rang out. The blood splattered all over the ground, causing them to involuntarily shiver. That was because the man with the sword was laughing just a moment ago, but in the next moment, he was like a god of death. His entire body emitted a fierce and cold killing intent. The ruthlessness in his body shot out from his eyes as he stared at the woman, causing others to feel that if he were to swing his sword, it would definitely be aimed at the woman's throat. Shout again, and I'll cut off your hand, Huilang said coldly, his cold gaze carrying a trace of bloodthirst as he stared at the woman on the ground. When the woman heard this and saw the man's expression, she was so shocked that her face turned pale. She covered her cut-off ear with one hand and trembled as she climbed up from the ground with the other, muttering, I won't dare, don't kill me, don't kill me. She was only greedy for a moment and didn't want to lose her life because of this. Chapter 2971. The woman scrambled to her feet and rushed into the crowd to hide, not caring about her sorry state. As for the surrounding people who originally wanted to rob the carriage, after seeing this scene, all of them gave up on their greed. If they didn't have the ability to rob them, they would be the unlucky ones in the end. However, at this time, some people were thinking just who was sitting in the carriage. They hadn't seen the person in the carriage make a sound. Was there really someone inside? Grey Wolf sheathed his sword and returned to the beast carriage. He drove the beast carriage and continued to move forward. When the people behind saw that they had left, they also began to discuss. It seems like it. The person sitting in the carriage isn't an ordinary person. The old man stroked his beard and stared at the carriage. When the cultivators heard this and saw that the carriage was already far away, they asked, We'll treat you to a drink. Why don't you tell us? When the old man heard this, he said, There's no need to drink, but if there's this. He waved his hand as if he was asking for money. Seeing this, the cultivators looked at each other and each took out 2 gold coins and put them in the old man's hand. Is this enough? He more or less. The old man smiled and gestured for them to go to the corner of the street. He lowered his voice and said to them, Do you know where the 2 purple gold spirit deer came from? The cultivators looked at each other and shook their heads. We don't know. Why would we ask you if we knew? Let me tell you. They were raised by the immortal sex Venerable Mu Xian and are usually treasured. You don't know. The immortal sex Reverend Mu Xian and Reverend CK have acknowledged 2 people as their masters. They are the ones sitting in the carriage. That violet gold spirit deer was a gift from Reverend Mu Xian to his master. Tell me, for someone like that to have designs on them, isn't that courting death? The cultivators couldn't help but be stunned. No way. The masters of the immortal sex Venerable? Are they 2 old monsters that are over 1,000 years old?
Wrong.
It's said that the 2 of them have godlike appearances, outstanding temperament, and terrifying strength, and... The old man stroked his beard and smiled, then looked at them again. And what? Tell us. A few cultivators said anxiously. Their appetites had been whetted, but this old man was tormenting them. Haha, I've already told you who the person in the carriage is. What I'm going to tell you next is another piece of news. Do you want to hear it? The old man asked with a smile. Hearing these words and seeing the old man's appearance, The few of them glared at him, and each took out 2 gold coins and handed them to him. "All right, hurry up and tell us. Don't be too greedy." The old man weighed the gold coins in his hand and said with a smile, "Also, something happened in the Colosseum of Sky City a few days ago. It was the Jiang family who provoked those 2 people. Guess what happened in the end? Jiang clan? One of the 8 great clans of Four Corner City." Several people asked in astonishment. That's right. The eldest young master of the Jiang family's second branch offended those 2. In the end, he lost 300,000 crystal stones, 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs, and 2 sacred artifact-level treasures. It is said that after returning, the eldest young master of the second branch, the Jiang family's grand elder, and third master Jiang were all sent to the punishment hall. They are still recuperating in bed these days. Chapter 2972. The old man laughed and said mysteriously, "I just know." As he spoke, he waved his hand and turned to leave. On the other side, Huilang stopped the spirit beast carriage by the side of the road. Because Fengjiu was no longer in the mood to get off the carriage to walk around, she only told Ling Lang to go to the shop to buy some things back, while she carried the child and rested in the carriage. The interior of the carriage was very spacious, and there were also some mechanisms and a soft couch to rest on, so no matter how long she sat, she would not feel tired. Call mother. Come, call mother." She held the child's hands and taught him how to call people. Yeah, he. The little guy was drooling and smacking his lips, but no one knew what he was saying. They only knew that he was very happy and giggling. "Mother, come, call mother." Fengjiu continued to teach, as she took out a small handkerchief to wipe the saliva from the corner of his mouth. Sitting outside and listening to her teaching the little master how to call his mother, he could not help but smile. Huilang thought, if only the ghost doctor and his master had a child of their own. Although little Hao was cute, he was not of their blood after all. Who knew when he would be able to hold their child? "No, I don't want to go. Help, help." Suddenly, a cry came from outside. Fengjiu, who was in the car, paused for a moment. The sound was still some distance away from them, so it shouldn't be directed at them. Therefore, she continued to play with the child. Huilang, who was sitting in the carriage, looked in front curiously and saw that something seemed to have happened. There was a faint crying sound, so he looked around and saw the surrounding people disperse. A beautiful woman ran out crying, followed by a few men chasing after her. The men rushed forward and surrounded the woman. One of them cursed a few times, then raised his hand and slapped the beautiful woman. The force was so strong that the woman fell to the ground. Hearing the loud slap, Huilang frowned. He didn't like hitting women. What kind of man was a man who hit women? The woman's face was swollen, and she was sobbing on the ground. Before she could stand up, one of the men carried her up. "Who told you to run? Run again, if you have the guts. If you dare to run again, I'll break your legs." The man scolded fiercely. He carried the crying woman and was about to leave. However, due to the woman's crying and the man's cursing, little Hao, who was playing, was frightened. The little fellow was startled and began to cry. Fengjiu hurriedly picked up the child and comforted him softly. "Be good, little darling. It's okay. It's okay. Don't be afraid. Mother is here." She softly coaxed him, and the little fellow gradually stopped crying in her arms. He only blinked his beautiful watery eyes and stared at her. He looked so adorable that Fengjiu couldn't help but lower his head and kiss his cheek. "Don't be afraid. Mother is here. Mother is with little Hao." The little fellow in her arms seemed to have understood her words. A pair of small hands tightly grasped her clothes and rubbed against her chest. He listened to her heartbeat and calmed down. Chapter 2973. The man felt the pain and loosened his grip, throwing the woman to the ground. The crying woman hurriedly got up and fled into the crowd. The other men wanted to chase after her, but they all bent their knees in pain. With this delay, the woman slipped into the crowd and disappeared without a trace. "Damn it! Who did this?" The men stood up and shouted angrily. They glanced around and saw that the people surrounding them had retreated. Then, they looked towards Huilang. However, when the leader saw that the carriage was pulled by two outrageously beautiful spirit deer, he couldn't help but take another look at the luxurious spirit beast carriage. However, he didn't dare to go forward and ask. Instead, he shouted to the other men, "Quickly chase after her. Bring her back." After watching those people leave, Huilang scratched his head. Was it the ghost doctor? However, why did the ghost doctor save that woman? Not long after, the Lung Shuang returned with the goods and said, "Mistress, I've bought everything. I heard that this pastry shop in the city has many varieties of pastries and that they taste good. I bought some for mistress to try." Hearing this, Fengjiu said, "Bring them in."
Yes.
The Lung Shuang replied. After opening the carriage door, he lifted the curtain and walked in. He took out the pastries from his chinquan bag and placed them on the small table inside. "Huilang, let's go back," Fengjiu said.
Okay.
Huilang replied and rode the two purple gold spirit deer back. However, at this time, an old man walked out with a smile. He followed the spirit beast carriage to the left and asked, "Mistress, do you need a steward? I recommend myself." Fengjiu, who was eating pastries in the carriage, raised her eyebrows when she heard this. She handed the child to the Lung Shuang and lifted the curtain to look outside. She saw an inconspicuous old man in gray walking beside the spirit beast carriage. His pace was relaxed and not slower than the spirit beast carriage. Moreover, he had a smile on his face. Seeing her lift the curtain, he also looked towards her. "I don't lack a steward," Fengjiu said and lowered the curtain.
Don't.
"I don't lack a steward. I can help sweep the floor or serve tea. As long as you take care of my food and shelter and give me a caddy of spirit wine every day, that's enough." A caddy of spirit wine. I can hire several servants to sweep the floor and serve tea, Feng Nine said leisurely. She ate a piece of pastry and looked at the person outside the curtain. He still didn't fall behind at all. One had to know that the speed of the spirit beast carriage wasn't slow, but this person was leisurely following beside it. It could be seen that he had some skill. However, she could not tell the old man's cultivation level with just a glance. Was he hiding his strength? Who was this person? Why did he recommend himself to be her steward? "Mistress, I'm all alone. I've been starving for several days. Please be kind and take me in. You're too old. I'm afraid you can't sweep the floor well. I'm afraid you'll knock over the teacups when I serve tea. What's the use of having you around?" Fengjiu said casually. She leaned on the soft couch and chatted with the old man outside the carriage. Chapter 2974. As the old man spoke, he saw that the people in the spirit beast carriage did not speak, so he continued to talk to himself until they reached Fengjiu's residence. The door opened, and the flying beast carriage entered, while the old man was locked outside.
Sigh, that's it?
"I've already recommended myself the entire way, but they're still so heartless," the old man shouted outside, talking to himself. After circling the residence once, he squatted in a corner in front of their residence to rest. "Master, who's that old man outside? He's squatting in front of our door, and it looks like he doesn't want to leave," Lung Hua said. When the door closed, the old man kept pacing around outside and did not leave. "He followed us halfway. I don't know where he came from," Fengjiu said as he fed how ignore him. "If he can't enter, he'll leave." Seeing this, Lung Hua didn't bother with the old man outside and said, "Master, Qingcheng is preparing to leave tonight. Luo Yu and the others are planning to go out on a mission tomorrow. Their first mission is a level 2 escort mission." "I understand," Fengjiu responded. After feeding little Hao he handed him over to Lung Hua and returned to the courtyard to concoct medicine. Night fell. After bidding farewell to her, Bai Qingcheng disguised herself and left from the back of the mountain. She left Four Corner City in the middle of the night. As the night deepened, the old man who was squatting outside the mansion slipped into the mansion due to the cold wind and drizzle. He found a place to take shelter from the wind and rain and lay down to rest. No one in the residence noticed his arrival because there was a formation set up here. To enter the residence from outside, one had to pass through the formation first. However, the formation in the residence did not give off any warning, so they did not know that the old man had sneaked in. On the morning of the next day, Lung Hua was patrolling the estate. When he arrived at the outer courtyard and saw the old man lying at the entrance, his pupils constricted slightly. He walked up to the old man and sized him up. At this moment, the old man was still sleeping soundly, and it seemed as if he didn't notice that someone was approaching. "How did you come in?" Lung Hua asked, staring at the old man. He looked around. The array formation was not touched, the door was not damaged, and the barrier that covered the entire residence was not broken. Then, how did this person come in so quietly? The old man continued to snore, as if he did not hear him. He continued to sleep without making a sound or even moving. Seeing this, Lung Hua raised his hand, and a wind blade slashed out towards the old man. It was also at this moment that the old man who was sleeping soundly flipped over and leaped up, dodging his attack. At the same time, he rubbed his eyes and looked at Lung Hua with displeasure as he said angrily, "Kid, why don't you know the rules? How can you attack an old man like me? If you hurt an old man like me, I'll stick to you and not leave." How did you come in?" Lung Hua stared at him and asked. To be able to enter their residence without anyone noticing, this old man was not ordinary. He did not treat him as an ordinary old man. "That's how I got in. How else?" Chapter 2975. "Oh, is that true?" Fengjiu's voice drifted over. The two men followed the voice and saw Fengjiu, dressed in casual clothes, slowly walking over. "Master," Lung Hua called out. "This old man slept here last night and didn't cause any damage to the surroundings. I don't know how he got in." "Ayaya, what, madam? She's just a young and beautiful fairy." The old man narrowed his eyes and smiled as he stared at Fengjiu. He sized up Fengjiu and said, "Why don't you call her miss instead?" Fengjiu walked over and looked at the old man. "Why aren't you leaving? What are you doing here? You even trespassed into my residence. Do you really want to stay and be my butler? Food, lodging, and wine are all provided." The old man smiled at Fengjiu. "It's a good deal. There are some rules here that cannot be broken. Don't worry, I won't cause trouble." The old man waved his hand. Hearing this, Fengjiu glanced at him and said, "If that's the case, then come with me first." With that, he turned and walked inside. Seeing this, the old man followed. Fengjiu went around the array and came to a training ground inside. He said, "It's early in the morning and I want to stretch my muscles and bones. Why don't you practice with me?" The old man who followed behind him stopped and looked around. His gaze fell on Fengjiu and he said with a smile, "Practice with you? But I can't really go all out." Hearing this, Fengjiu's mouth twitched. He glanced at him speechlessly and listened to him speak in distress. "Tell me, if this old man uses all his strength, you definitely won't be his opponent. But you're this old man's bread and butter. If this old man defeats you, what will you do if you lose face and drive me away?" Fengjiu's eyelids twitched. He said calmly, "I won't. If I give you some face and purposely lose to you, then you might think I'm useless and not let me be your butler. Tell me, wouldn't I be wasting my time?" Fengjiu glanced at him. In the next moment, his figure flashed and his palm struck at the old man. He was so fast that the old man was stunned. He stepped back and easily dodged Fengjiu's attack. He turned and ran. "Don't. Let's talk nicely. Don't get physical," the old man shouted and looked for a place to hide. However, he saw that this place was empty. There was no place to hide even if he wanted to. In a flash, a fist came swinging over. "Ah!" He groaned, covered his eyes, and shouted at Fengjiu, "I'm telling you, don't come here again. If you touch me again, I won't be polite with you." "I didn't ask you to be polite with me. If you don't fight back, I won't be merciful," Fengjiu said as he moved and punched again. "Fine. You forced me to do this." The old man shouted angrily. He released the hand covering his eyes and gathered spiritual energy to punch at Fengjiu. Seeing this, Fengjiu curled her lips into a smile. The two of them fought back and forth in the arena. As they fought, she discovered that the old man's strength was unfathomable. After fighting for a while, she felt that his strength should be above hers. Why did such a strong person come to be her butler for no reason? Chapter 2976. His master was no match for that old man? Fengjiu looked at the smiling old man and asked, "Are you really going to stay?" "Yes, I'm going to stay." He chuckled. "I'll guard the door for you. I promise I won't let a fly in." Fengjiu smiled. "You're such a strong person. Wouldn't it be beneath you to guard the door for me?" He waved his hand. No, I have nowhere to go. Your residence is great. You even provide food, lodging, and wine. It's already very good." Fengjiu stared at him for a while before asking, "How should I address you?" "Haha, just call me Lao Mei," the old man said with a smile. "Lung Hua, arrange a place for him to stay. Tell him what to pay attention to in our residence," Fengjiu instructed Lung Hua. "Yes," Lung Hua replied. Then he said to the old man, "Follow me. I knew you were a good person. You would definitely take me in." He looked at Fengjiu with a smile and turned to leave with Lung Hua. At the same time, he said cheerfully, "This is great. I finally have a place to stay. I don't have to wander anymore." Fengjiu watched the old man leave until he could no longer see him. Then he walked out. He couldn't see through this old man, but he was sure of one thing. He wanted to stay here. But what was he going to do here? Since he couldn't see through him, he might as well wait and see. After a long time, would he not be able to see through him? The old man followed Lung Hua into the inner courtyard. He looked around, and when he heard a child's giggling, his eyes moved slightly. He asked with a smile, "Why do I hear a child's voice? Are there children in the residence?" Lung Hua turned to look at him. Seeing the smile on his face and a hint of curiosity, he said, "That's the young master of the residence." Hearing this, the old man didn't ask any more questions. However, when he walked inside, he just happened to see the black-clothed woman walking out with a child in her arms. Lung Shuang looked at the man Lung Hua brought in and asked, "Why is he here?" "Sis, this is Elder Mei." As Lung Hua spoke, he glanced at the old man and said, "This morning, he snuck in by himself and slept at the gate. Master asked him to stay and guard the gate. I'll take him to the courtyard to settle down. I'll come back to find you later." After hearing this, Lung Shuang didn't ask any more questions and nodded. This child is so cute. She's white and chubby and has a likable appearance. She's really cute." The old man took a step forward and stared at little Hao, with an expression of extreme fondness. He asked, "Can I hug him? He's so cute. He must be so soft to hug." Lung Shuang took a step back with the baby in his arms and stared at him warily. "Aren't you going to the yard? Hurry up and go." Seeing this, the old man looked regretful and muttered, "That chubby boy is so interesting. I wanted to hug him and play with him. I can't even touch him." After watching the two of them leave, Lung Shuang carried little Hao into the garden and walked him around. When he saw Fengjiu walking over, he walked up and called out, "Master." Fengjiu reached out to hold little Hao's hand and played with him. He asked, "Did you see Elder Mei?" Chapter 2977. Let's take a look first. I don't know what he does for a living. Fengjiu smiled and teased Hao. "We should be able to tell after a while. But for now, we know that he shouldn't be a threat to us." Hearing her words, Lung Shuang nodded. "Yes, I understand. Take Hao to play. I'm going back to take a bath and change my clothes," Fengjiu said, and kissed the little guy before heading inside. In the courtyard, Lung Hua had already left. Elder Mei sat at the table and drank some water. His eyes were filled with unconcealable excitement. He drank 2 cups of water in the room to calm himself down. Then, He calmed himself down and walked out with a smile on his face. Leng Hua had already told Du Fan and the others about Elder Mei's stay. Luo Yu and the others could not believe that an old man could be stronger than Fengjiu. Hence, they went to Elder Mei's courtyard. What do you want? When Elder Mei, who had just left the hospital, saw the few people blocking the entrance of the hospital, he raised his eyelids and glanced at them. As his gaze swept past them, he had a rough idea of their strength. You're Elder Mei? We heard from Leng Hua that you're very good at fighting. Since you have nothing to do now, why don't you spar with us? Luo Yu grinned and stared at Elder Mei. He did not think that this old man was anything special. Are you trying to bully an old man like me with your numbers? Elder Mei shouted and moved to the side, looking for an opportunity to escape. Why would we do that? We're all from the mansion. We just want to spar with you, Luo Yu said with a smile. That's not good. If the young miss finds out, she'll say that I'm bullying you. If that happens, I won't be able to keep my job. Elder Mei waved his hand and moved to the side, trying to avoid them. Luo Yu and Du Fan looked at each other and smiled. Why would we? We won't go too far, and it won't hurt your life. Come, we're all family. Don't be so restrained. Hearing this, Elder Mei's gaze flickered. So we're family now? This old man is all alone. I didn't expect that there would be a time when I have a family. He looked at them and said, All right. Since all of you are treating me, Old Mei, as a family member, I will naturally follow your wishes and spar with you. However, let's make things clear. If you lose, you can't fall out with me. If we don't fall out, we won't be so immoral. The few of them laughed and signaled with their eyes. A few of them then pounced forward. Only Fan Lin took a few steps back and did not participate in their practice. When Old Mei saw this, a hint of a smile flashed through his eyes. With a flicker of his body, his fists shot out like shadows, aiming for their faces.
Ah!
Not my face, not my face. Bang, bang, bang. Hiss.
Ah!
For a moment, the sound of fists hitting the ground and the cries of pain resounded in the courtyard, attracting Leng Hua, who was in front, to quickly come over to check what was going on. However, he didn't expect that when he arrived and saw this scene, the corner of his mouth twitched and he couldn't help but smile. Hiss. God damn it. It hurts so much. A few of us can't even land a single hit on him? What a loss. Hiss. My face. Is my face swollen? It's swollen like a pig's head. Chapter 2978. Your makeup looks pretty good. Fengjiu picked up a mouthful of side dishes and said unhurriedly, Master. Luo Yu caressed his swollen face, which had already been applied with medicine, and said, We've embarrassed you. Fengjiu smiled. How could that be? It's not like I'm the one with the swollen face. You guys are the ones who have been painted. The few of them moved their mouths and sighed silently. How could they have known that the old man was really that powerful? If they had known, they wouldn't have gone up to look for a beating. Didn't you guys say that you're going out on a mission tomorrow? You're going with this face? The employer probably won't be at ease. She chuckled and took a sip of wine. But this is also good. It's only right that I get painted. Master, that Elder Mei is so powerful. Why did he come to our residence? What is he doing here? If you leave him in our residence, will something happen? Luo Yu asked worriedly. Rather than letting him watch from the shadows, it's better to put him in the open. From what I can see, he shouldn't be a threat. You guys don't have to worry about the matters in the residence. Go without worry. Fengjiu glanced at them and said, Be careful when you're outside. Don't be so careless. If something happens, I won't be able to take care of you. Master, don't worry. We know. The few of them said, Then we'll go back and apply some medicine. After saying that, they bowed and left. The next morning, the few of them went out, along with Hui Lang. After they left, the residence seemed to have quieted down a lot. Fengjiu entered the space to cultivate. He only came out at noon and lay on the soft couch in the courtyard, resting with a book covering his face. Leng Hua walked in and called, Master, the city's alchemist guild sent an invitation. Read it, Feng Jiu said lazily.
Yes.
Leng Hua responded and explained the gist of it to her. He's inviting Mistress to the Alchemist Guild tomorrow afternoon. He said that there's a pill master exchange event, and he wants to invite Mistress to attend. Reject it, Feng Jiu said faintly. He was not interested at all. Yes. Leng Hua responded and put away the invitation. He then said, the Jiang clan, one of the 8 great clans in the city, sent an invitation. They said that tomorrow is their clan head's birthday, and they want to invite Master to their residence. Jiang clan? Under the cover of the book, his lips curled up slightly. This Jiang family is quite interesting. They actually want to invite me to their residence? It's just that I don't have a good impression of the Jiang family, so I don't really want to go. Hearing this, Leng Hua smiled and said, then I'll reject it on behalf of Master. But there is one that Master might be interested in.
Oh.
What is it? Feng Jiu asked. Hearing him say this, she was somewhat curious. The city's largest auction house, Treasure Heaven Pavilion, will be holding an auction tomorrow. It's said that there are many good things. Master, are you interested in taking a look? Feng Jiu removed the book covering his face and said, auction house? Then I can go take a look. You arrange it tomorrow. As he spoke, he paused and asked again, then Elder May has been guarding the entrance all this time? He's been dozing off at the entrance all this time, Leng Hua said. When he thought of Elder May, he was also very puzzled. Why would a person whose strength was even higher than their master be guarding the door at this time? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.